Hi, Celeste.
Hey,
Congrats on the number one.
thank you very much.
How
Yeah.
do you feel about it?
Mm, I guess like a sense of relief and just
Yeah,
like I just feel accomplished in the fact that like I kind of made this album with people that hadn't really ever made an album before.
yeah,
So everyone was like really unsure around me as to like what this piece of music could actually do and like what it could represent. So I'm glad that it's done that work at least because like hopefully it gives me the grounds to like take more risks and stuff like in the future with like what I want to make and like how I want to make it.
yeah. It's a classic album, though.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really classic. How has it felt different releasing throughout a lockdown, a pandemic?
Well, I think like because it's my first album, I don't really have anything to like
Mm,
compare it to. But I guess like what I'm aware is that there's definitely like a lot of things that would usually come along in the process of like bringing out an album and like traveling to play shows and like promote it and all of that stuff isn't happening. But I'm quite enjoying like this way of doing things for the time being because like I'm hoping that it'll give me the chance to start writing for my second album.
yeah,
I guess if things were like how they usually are, right now I'd be like traveling to different countries and like we'd be doing this in person and then perhaps the
yeah.
next day I'd be going somewhere else. So it's cool because like yesterday I actually got to go to the studio and like it's good because like say I'm talking to you and then like later on I could go to the studio and it's around the corner, whereas like if I
Yeah.
was in France or like something or like South
You
America
get to
it wouldn't
squeeze
be.
everything in now.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the album's called Not Your Muse. Why do you call it this? Let's start from there.
Yeah, well, I guess like that statement for me was just me saying like this is not yours to be molded, like I am not yours to be molded, and like I kind of choose what that shape is myself.
Mm,
And I guess around the time that I wrote this song, it had come after like 2 or 3 years of like sort of like being a bit more, I guess, in the music industry and like in those structures of like major label and everything. And definitely with like receiving like some accolades that I had came like a pressure to like fulfill like this expectation of like being a huge like artist and an artist with like huge commercial success. And I guess in the music that I make there was always this idea that I would have to like come round eventually to conform to like a mainstream sound to
yeah.
get that kind of traction. And that was something that I never really felt was like something I wanted to do within myself. And so I always kind of like resisted my music going that way. And
Yeah.
like definitely along the way, I've had to find like compromise and like that's probably songs like Stop This Flame and like Tonight Tonight. And I kind of like had to like come to some middle ground where like my label could like do their job in like trying to get it played on like mainstream radio, but then also like me still being able to like retain like what I feel is like me in my most like pure honest form.
Yeah.
So I kind of like had back and forths, like not just with them but just like with different people all around me that I guess like made an attempt to implant that idea upon me of like what they thought I should be like, what they thought I should sing like, what they thought I should represent. And at times that really like blurred the lines of like what I actually thought I should be within myself.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
yeah, so like Not Your Muse, the title and the song just came about I think as like me like taking that stand to be like this is me being me for the sake of like
Yeah.
that being nurtured rather than like you kind of like using me as a vessel to kind of like carry your message or whatever you want to
Yeah.
exist in the world. Yeah.
It's quite courageous in that sense. Um, I read that you said that Not Your Muse is the power that you,
Mm.
the power that came when you felt at your most powerless.
Hmm.
And do you feel like the album created a healing space for you then?
Yeah, absolutely. I think over time, like I started out like in music, like really headstrong, like really confident to like what I wanted to do, and really determined to like be able to do it, and like also really determined in the sense that like I don't know how to play any instruments. Like I didn't have any music training, so like I also had to find like the will to like communicate my ideas without having that kind of backbone to my
Yeah.
like, you know, whatever like experience or like knowledge in music. I just always like followed my feeling, and so like I was always aware there was like something, that a barrier that sort of came up when I was like in sessions where like I'd have such a strong idea but I wouldn't really know how to get it across. And so like I sort of overcame all of that, and then there came along this moment of like, well, if you want to like elevate or take your career further, then you may have to find compromise at different points, whether that's like primarily for me in my music more so than like my image or like anything like that,
Yeah.
or how I perform. And so when that kind of came along, I found that I was losing sight of like who I actually am, which I'd always had such a strong idea from a child. So it became really foreign to me. And then I didn't really know how to navigate like my own feelings, my own ideas, and my own understanding. So eventually, like I found that I wasn't really feeling fulfilled in what I was doing,
Yeah.
because it didn't really feel like me. And so like I found a way to like get back to that fulfillment, and that just ended up being like taking risks by like making my own decisions in what I thought was the right way to make music and stuff. And
Yeah.
eventually it paid off. So I think like that's what I meant, I think, in that quote. It was like, in the process of making this album, I came back to being in a place of like feeling self-assured again, like feeling confident in my ability to like write music
Yeah.
and sort of stand in a room full of people and stand by like my ideas.
Yeah. So there's a lot of growth, I guess, as well.
Yeah, definitely by the end of it.
Yeah. Did you know you wanted it to be two sides and so long?
Um, well, I just always thought it would be like 10 or 12 tracks.
Yeah.
And then I got given the chance to make a deluxe album, and then I realized that there were so many old songs that I really liked that weren't gonna get a chance to be on like the main body of work. So then I found out I had like an unlimited number of songs I could put on the deluxe. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put all my favorite songs that have perhaps been like forgotten or overlooked, or like they came really early on and like the new people that are listening to my music didn't hear that stuff. So that was like songs like Both Sides of the Moon and like Lately. And there's this song I did with Terrence Martin called In the Summer of My Life. And
Yeah.
when I first started doing like the main track listing for the main album, I really wanted to put that song on it, but it just didn't quite have a place like sonically and like
Yeah, I do
sort
think the
yeah.
two sides sound different, but like it's
Mm,
still quite cohesive. But like
yeah,
once you
yeah.
get to the second side, it does sound I'd say a bit more soulful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Oh,
I
I'm
love
so
it.
glad you think that. Yeah.
Yeah. How long did it take to create the whole album?
I'd say probably like 3 years ago I signed my record deal, so that was where it kind of first came into my mind that I would be able to like have like the backing to make an album and finish an album and it have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
So it was in my head from that moment, but in the end, like my writing ended up being spread out over like it's probably like 7 or 8 months actually spent in the studio over the space of 3 years. So it was kind of like I'd do like 2 months in January and February just in the studio, and then I'd
Yeah.
go out and play shows and then come back at the end of the year again. So there's a lot of disjointed sort of, there's a lot of space in between me writing the songs, which kind of comes across because like sometimes there's a gap in like, say like a song like Beloved, which is like very much my adolescent mind, which I wrote like at the beginning of that 3 years.
Yeah.
And then like, a song maybe like Ideal Woman, which I wrote like a year later. And you kind of maybe miss out on the growth in between, but you kind of just have these like two moments that are like very like the same woman, but having grown up and like understood things in a new way.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's funny you mentioned Ideal Woman because I think that's one of my favorite songs at the
Oh,
moment.
good.
Yeah, for sure. But why did you start the album like this then?
I think that like the reason why I wanted to start with Ideal Woman really was because even when I first started writing it, I was just like speaking it as though I was in a conversation with my friend, and it was really like a conversation with myself. But I felt like I wanted a way for like the listener to get to know me and like come closer to me as though it was like a one-on-one conversation, because I think where I don't do a lot of like videos where I chat on social media, and I don't really do that many video interviews that are online for people to like see my actual personality, that if I have the opportunity to get that across in a song, I want people to hear it, because that's kind of like my predisposal. Like, I guess sometimes in conversation face to face, I can feel shy, and I've got better at that recently, but
Mm.
music is where I find like the truth of like what I'm trying to get across, really.
Yeah, we can express. What I do love about Ideal Woman is that you're putting on the plate and saying, yeah, I don't think I'm the ideal woman for this, and or for you, and the reasons why. But and then just like, but I don't care.
Yeah.
That's what I love it. That's what I'm just like, it's very empowering. Because at first you think you'd listen to it and you think, oh, this is quite sad and somber, and then at the end it's just like, do you know what? It's all good anyway, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly the place that I came to be in, like as I've grown up. Just like I definitely thought all those things about myself when I was younger, like, oh, I'm too tall, or like
Yeah.
my body isn't like this, and all of these things. And then I eventually came to be in a place where like I realized I just had to accept those things and embrace those things about myself for
Yeah.
somebody else to as well, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, that's the place that I came to be once I wrote that song. But definitely after lots of years of like being a teenager and like not feeling like pretty or beautiful and
Yeah.
like all those things. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I love that. Do you have a favorite song on there?
I
On
think
that?
that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
same. That one and Lately, for sure.
oh, I'm glad you like that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my old time favorites. Like I always will play that at shows still, because
Yeah.
I love that. But I think my other two favorites are A Kiss and Not Your Muse. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are songs I can't wait to do live as well, and like get all like the atmospheric like guitar pedals and like
Yeah.
do it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I also wanted to ask, was you
Mm.
always going to put Strange on that album?
Yeah, actually.
You were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because I know it
Yeah.
was released quite a while ago now, but it's one of those, it's a staple song.
Yeah, yeah. And I recognized it as that as it came out, just because like as soon as that song came out, it seemed like to bring a lot of people to listening to my music. So more so than like the songs that are done better commercially, like that song to me just felt like it always had to go on there, and
Yeah.
it just felt like it represented me in many ways, of which it was like speaking about something that was like really like at the core of like how I exist and why I feel certain ways and why I act in certain ways. But
Mm.
then also it was kind of like transposed sonically in a way that also felt like really parallel to like what I wanted my identity to be sonically when
Mm.
I first made that song. And then like how it informed like the image and like the visual that would go with that, and how I would dress like around that piece of music. So it was always such a sort of like poignant, important piece of music for me.
Yeah. I do think like your fans would probably be fuming if it wasn't on there anyway.
Maybe.
Yeah. I do want to, I know we don't have much more time, but I want to talk a little bit about Love Is Back and the music video, because it looked like you had so much fun doing that
Yeah.
one. So yeah, tell me about the whole process for that song, that video.
I was saying to someone the other day that like the irony is the day that I did that video, I had a massive argument with my boyfriend on the phone. So I was there like in the toilet, like screaming down the phone, and then like going out like, love is back. In my hair. But yeah, it was actually really fun. And my friend Sammy, who directed it, Spam Jam, Madame Spam Jam is what I
Mm.
call her. But she basically has been like around with me on tour for like 2019 and then like the beginning of 2020, and we always spoke about making a video, but we were never like in England together
Yeah.
at the right time to do that. And then the pandemic came about, and like all of a sudden it made so much more sense than before to collaborate with your friends as well.
Yeah.
So we just decided to make that. I guess the song is like up tempo, and I just thought it was like a chance for me to make a video that's a bit less somber, because like a lot of my other songs sort of inform that kind of visual.
Yeah. That's why I say it seems like a lot of fun, a lot more energy,
Yeah,
and like just
exactly.
different
Yeah.
kind of side to your personality, I guess, which is shown.
Yeah, a glimpse, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. But last question. What's next for you? What's the plan next?
I want to write like a second album, definitely. I think that's so important, because like now I've sort of gained the trust of like my like label, I think, a bit more, and I think I've like gained the trust of like my musical peers and like my band and producers that I work with, and they believe in me and a bit more like what I want to do. So I think I'm really hoping it will like give me the chance to like take it even further than I could with this one, because I definitely had like parameters that I was met with when I was making this. So like I'm hoping that with this I'll have a bit more of a chance to like run wild, a bit more wild with it,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm just wanting to get into that like as soon as I can, really.
That's sick. I'm excited for you. I'm really excited for you. Again, congrats on number one, and thanks so much for having a chat with me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.